My husband's mom moved in with us a week ago. The minute we were informed she was going to move in, temporarily till her house gets renovated, we emptied a room specifically for her. It has everything: a bed with a frame, curtains, mounted TV, wardrobe, etc. She was thrilled with it and loved it. One day I came home and found her in my bedroom, sleeping in my and my husband's bed. I was confused, but she told me she had taken a nap on the bed and lost track of time. Since then, she started talking about how she loved the nap there and started hinting at wanting to take naps in our bedroom from now on. I kept ignoring her comments till my husband set me down and told me that his mom really liked and got used to napping in our bedroom, and we should just let her have her daily afternoon nap in the room. I said absolutely not, and we started debating. Finally, I told him his mom was ridiculous because she had a whole room upstairs where she should nap. He got upset and said that I was making his mom feel uncomfortable and unwelcome with this attitude. I said no and refused to negotiate. He called me selfish and mean for saying no and preventing his mom from feeling comfortable at his house. But I reminded him that I pay the full mortgage for the house while he blows money over gadgets and consoles. He accused me of bringing old disagreements in this current conflict against him. I said no again, and he should stop pushing because I need the room and I get home feeling exhausted from working on my feet from 6 a.m. He's refusing to speak to me till I agree and let his mom have her nap in there. Am I the idiot for choosing this hill to die on? As he says, am I being difficult? Not the idiot. Die on this hill. I would hate if someone napped in my bed. My bedroom is my sanctuary. Get a lock for your bedroom door if you must, but this is ridiculous. And tell your husband to grow up. Your problem is not with the mother-in-law. I think you already know that it's with your husband. He needs to support you in your dealings with his family, but instead of doing that, he's making the situation worse. You're already hosting his mother. She's lucky enough to have her room when most people don't even have spare rooms. If there's a problem with her room, your husband must fix it so she's comfortable, but she cannot take over your room. Your room is private and off limits. Honestly, I'd move my stuff into the spare room and her stuff into her husband's bedroom. Then if he wants to share a bed with his mother, he can share a bed with his mother. Your husband is not only behaving destructively by refusing to support you and creating unnecessary drama, he's not speaking to you like he's in high school. He's being very immature. I don't lightly recommend counseling because it's expensive and hard to find a good counselor, but he won't listen to you. So I think you need it at this point. Maybe a third party can get through to him. What he's doing is damaging your relationship. OP's husband? This is my house? This stood out to me too as a bad sign. He doesn't see the OP as having any status in her own house. I try not to tell people to dump the person automatically, but I have a nagging feeling that that's what the OP should do to save herself a lot of drama. OMG, as someone with an idiot for a mother-in-law myself, I spent your entire post cringing and shouting from my side of the laptop screen. Boot his mom out of your house and send your hubby with her if they both keep prioritizing someone who pays zero bills comfort over yours, the one who owns the home. My 39 female tween daughter just had a birthday last week. My sister's 36, daughter Sophie, 1 year younger. My daughter had 2 parties, one held at a local skating rink and the other at our house afterward, where she and 7 other girls would be having a sleepover. Essentially, all the boys went home and the girls stayed after. My sister begged me to invite my niece, stating that she was bullied and never gets invited to parties. While my daughter doesn't dislike my niece, they're also not very close. My daughter sometimes says my niece is odd and annoying, and I can understand why. She tends to act strangely in social situations, has specific obsessions, and is overweight. The last bit is not her fault, but my sister and I hound her for it. I decided she deserved a break, and I believe her when she says her daughter doesn't get invited to places often. I told my daughter my niece was invited, to which she begged me not to let her spend the night. I decided this was a good compromise and didn't even mention the sleepover to my sister. So even if she tried to force her daughter into the party, she would have nothing with her, no clothes, no toothbrush. The day of the party arrives and the kids have a blast. Sister and I got along pretty well, and she got my daughter a lovely gift. The kids all played nicely, despite my niece being overbearing with the other children. When everything was all wrapped up, I stood up and thanked all the parents for coming, but said our time was up, and it was time for the boys to go home, and the girls to follow us back for the slumber party. My niece went up to my sister, who seemed concerned about something, probably that they had nothing to take with them. I assumed my sister would tell her that they were heading home. I had my daughter say bye to her cousin and my sister. My sister looked at me confused and asked, "Is Sophie not coming to your house?" I guess I rubbed it the wrong way because I chuckled a bit and said, "Oh no, it's just her and her girlfriends." She made a face and my niece started tearing up a bit and clung to my sister, but I stood my ground because it's what my daughter wanted. My sister left with her begrudgingly and told me she would text me later. Our mom came up and asked me what her problem was, and when I explained, she gave me a dirty look and said, "That's not a good lesson for my daughter to learn. You should have let her stay." She said goodbye to my daughter and left. My sister sent me a long text about how I made her daughter feel, saying that I allowed her to feel left out despite forcing my daughter to invite her. My sister and mom will not speak to me, saying that I took part in ostracizing my sister's daughter. But am I really the idiot? So her mother and her aunts hound a girl about being overweight, which means at least 3 adults are bullying her. Yeah, I'm sure that helps her be less socially awkward. You are the idiot for justifying excluding a fat autistic girl for being fat and autistic. Really not a great thing to teach kids. I don't think anyone should have to invite anyone they don't want to, but you come off as an idiot. You are the idiot, not for not inviting your niece to the sleepover, but for how you handled it. You humiliated that little girl in front of everyone. You made it very clear that she wasn't your daughter's friend and that she was unwanted. That kind of thing sticks with children their whole lives. You're quite a mean person. Hope you're pleased with how you broke that little girl's heart. After all the other girls who were invited were sleeping over. You made it a point to announce that it was time for the boys to leave, and it was clear by your actions that your niece was the only girl who wasn't invited to stay over. That's a very crappy thing for an aunt to do, making her niece feel excluded and practically rubbing her face in it. I'm a mother of twins, 19 female. Their dad and I split up 6 years ago, and I'm now married to my husband, Kevin. Problem is, Kevin thinks that my girls are not disciplined, as they don't follow everything he tells them because they don't see him as their father. We've already talked about it. Especially the parts where he expects them to dress how he wants them to and behave how he wants them to. He even called them weirdos, but that's how teenagers are, and it's not a new thing. Anyways, I told him he needed to loosen up a little and lessen his expectations of them, but I get it's hard to do, given he was brought up in a conservative household with a hardcore Christian family. Last week, he started a fight after seeing one of the girls' hairstyles and said that she looked trashy. Because of this, we had to cancel our trip to the mall because he refused to drive us. A couple of days ago, we wanted to go out to dinner. I intended to get off work at 6, but had some stuff to do. My husband and I agreed that he'd take the girls and go to the restaurant and wait for me there. He called me before they left the house to complain about the girls' clothes. The girls sent me pics, and I thought nothing was wrong with their outfits and told him to drop it and go. He said fine, then muttered something about me enabling them, then hung up. While I was still at work, I got a call from one of the girls telling me their stepdad had them stand and wait outside the restaurant because he didn't want to be seen with them dressed like that. I was stunned. I rushed to the restaurant and found them near the car. They explained he told them to wait in the car till he told them to come in, basically wait for me. They started crying. I had them get in my car, then went inside the restaurant and found him on his phone. I went off on him and told him he should be ashamed of himself for treating my daughters like if there was something to be ashamed of. He tried backpedaling, saying it wasn't like that, but I interrupted him and then walked out after canceling dinner. We went home and he came back hours later trying to argue that I can't blame him for disapproving of the girls' recklessness and that he tried communicating, but I shut him down and treated him as less than a parent when he just wants what's best for them. He doesn't speak to me or the girls anymore. You are the idiot for marrying someone who treats your daughters like this. Of course they don't see him as a dad. They're adults, and he hasn't even been around for 6 years. He cannot just have expected to marry you and suddenly gain 2 obedient robots. That isn't how it works. Your choice, but if you let this continue, your girls won't stick around for that any longer than they need to. How the heck was he able to cancel a trip to the mall because he refused to drive? OP clearly can drive and has a car based on the post. So did she seriously agree to cancel the trip to appease him? That would be utterly bananas. Don't be so desperate for a relationship that you'll tolerate your kids being treated like crap. Cut this controlling dude out of all of your lives. You realize that his real issue is that he sees two attractive young women and is attracted. His knee-jerk reaction is to control them and their bodies to make himself more comfortable. The lack of respect here for you, your daughters, and your family speaks volumes. It's time for this man to be an ex-husband. Totally agree that he's attracted to them. Double yuck. You are the idiot because you don't prioritize your daughters and their safety, and for what you've already passively allowed, because you certainly haven't been doing enough to protect them so far. Me, 25 female, and my family, parents and siblings, have lived in Japan for 8 years. I was born there. My mom would make curry for the family whenever it was colder weather. This tradition continues till this day, in another country. If it's raining or cold, my mom will call for lunch or dinner at her house on the weekend because it's her curry day. And this is sacred to my mother. She even goes to the center to buy curry imported from Japan for this. My girlfriend, Camille, 26, has been with me for 7 years. Due to past disagreements, Camille and my mother don't have the best relationship. They manage to stay in the same room without fighting, but they keep nagging each other. Camille participates in the curry days and has even helped prepare. And some bad moments are going on because Camille keeps making suggestions for my mom's curry, and Mom, doesn't want to know, but I already told Camille to stop. Recently, Camille has been bringing up that she wants to make dinner and call my whole family. I agreed until I knew what food she intended to make. She wanted to buy curry imported from Japan to make her own curry day tradition. I made it very clear that maybe this wasn't the best idea because it's a tradition in my family and my mother's curry day is a very important thing for her. The day to see her children and grandchildren all together. It would also generate unnecessary conflict since there were thousands of other dishes that Camille could choose from. Instead, she decided to make something extremely special to my mother, giving an idea, even if not intentionally, that she would want to compete with my mother. Camille got mad that my mom didn't own the dish and that she could create her tradition without having to ask my mom's permission to make a dish that wasn't hers. I said I understood, but I asked her if this was a battle she wanted to have with my mother and create an easily manageable discomfort that can be solved by choosing any other dish in the world. She's pretty upset with me, which I understand, but honestly, I just want peace. And I am basing this on my mother's reaction, as she was already extremely upset when a sister-in-law decided to make this dinner for my brother and the children years ago. My mom doesn't care about many things, but curry day is important to her. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Even though, yes, technically she can cook whatever she wants. Being right doesn't always mean that you're not an idiot. I think it's pretty clear she's doing it on purpose. If she really wanted to start her own tradition, she wouldn't pick a dish that already has one. Camille is very clearly trying to get a rise out of your mom. It would be one thing to make the curry the way she wanted for just the two of you, but to constantly nag your mom about changing the recipe and then usurp her tradition and serve her steaming pile of in your face in front of the whole family is completely different. She knows what she's doing and that it'll cause friction with your mother and people discussing whose curry is better. This sounds like a very yummy problem. She clearly wants to one-up your mom's curry though. However, your mom doesn't own the dish, and being, quote, extremely upset when someone else in the family cooks curry is beyond reasonable. I mean, is anyone allowed to cook curry ever? Or do they have to wait until your mom makes it if they want to have some? It won't be yummy when OP finds himself between these two women. Again, that gets old. It's still weird as heck that OP's mom got mad at a sister-in-law for making curry for sister-in-law's husband and children though. Like, what? Why would you be the only person in an entire extended family that's allowed to make curry? I mean, if I were the girlfriend and inviting the entire family over for dinner, I would choose something besides curry since his mom is so odd about it, but it's still strange that she thinks it's some mortal sin to make a curry. I, 41 male, and my wife, 38, have 3 kids, toddler, pre-tween, and tween. We also have a nephew, 20, on my side, and a few nieces and nephews on her side. Every summer we go on a wilderness adventure, but 4 years ago, we were a bit worried about being overwhelmed with a newborn and 2 other kids. I asked my nephew, then 16, if he would like to come on vacation with us. The deal would be that my wife and I would pay for everything, and he babysits the older kids when they want to do an activity, but we need to chill with the baby. Nephew agreed, and the trip was a smashing success. We were so happy with how things turned out that we repeated the arrangement every following year. Having an extra set of hands made our vacations more of a vacation. My wife's oldest niece is a teenager, and her mom expected us to bring her on our vacation, but we didn't. Our niece is a great kid, but doesn't have a driver's license yet, isn't good with kids, and isn't much interested in physical activity. I'm sure she would have fun looking at the beautiful scenery and swimming in the springs, but her presence wouldn't decrease our workload and would have significantly increased the cost of our vacation. Not to mention, it would set an unaffordable precedent for our other nieces and nephews. We returned yesterday, and my sister-in-law has made some passive-aggressive posts on social media. Even my mother-in-law, with whom I have a great relationship, said she's disappointed that I didn't think about my niece's feelings. I do care about my niece, and I would have taken her if it wasn't so expensive, but I don't feel like we were obligated to take her. Am I the idiot? Let's reframe this. You hired your nephew to be a nanny on your vacation because he was a good fit and super qualified. Your niece isn't qualified, so you don't owe anyone a free vacation. Not the idiot. Perfectly said. Also, you can't expect someone to take your child on vacation for free. If anything, the niece's parents should have offered to pay for her. But even then, OP is in the right to say no. It's funny how often others seem to so freely want to spend money that doesn't belong to them. You are the idiot. You've been taking your nephew for 3 or 4 years now, and I'm sure your niece has said something about it. What have you and her mom been telling her about why she hasn't been going? Did you lead her on in any way when she was younger? Or did she just make the assumption that she was going when she was old enough? Sister-in-law made up a narrative in her head. If your niece did go and hated the trip, guess who would be bad-mouthing you all over social media? Explain to them your nephew's with you because he has a job that he's great at, and you're going to employ him until he's not interested anymore, at which point you probably won't need the help anymore.